Hi, Halifax. I'm Grace.
And I'm Linnea.
And guess what, Linnea?
What?
The Minute Women podcast is going on tour.
Really?
Well, sort of. We will be hosting 2 live shows in Halifax's beautiful North End.
Ooh.
The first show will be on April 26th at Hop Yard on Gottingen Street. Show starts at 7 p.m.
And on May 12th, we'll be at Good Robot on Roby Street. Show also starting at 7 p.m.
So to stay in the loop and get more details, visit our website, minutewomenpodcast.ca.
And check out our social media.
We'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye. How do I start?
Hi, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Minute Women podcast. My name is Grace.
And I say, I'm Linnea.
And I'm Linnea. And I'm Linnea.
I literally was
Every time.
What do I say?
You smell burnt toast.
Doctor, I smell burnt toast. I dragged my ass out of bed for this picture. On Mondays, it's gonna be Margarita Mondays. Nationwide. And feel that reciprocated enjoyment.
Oh my god!
It's like we're friends or something.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Minute Women podcast. My name is Grace.
And I'm Linnea. And I am dying to find out the rest about Mr. Bra.
Our buddy Isaac Brock.
Yeah.
We are picking up where we left off. The War of 1812 has
Yes.
really just started.
The boxing, swimming, superstar, big boy Brock.
Look big Brock.
Look big Brock is now about to embark on the War of 1812. So
That saying is going to enter my vernacular now. It's
Good.
like, guys, we need to look big, okay?
It's
We
like when you see a bear, look big.
Everyone look big, okay?
Yeah.
All right, everybody, look big. Let's go.
Let's do it.
We are entering, this season of allergies and springtime looking big.
Looking big.
Minute Women podcast, look big.
Yeah, I like that.
Also, we should mention our minute tour, which is
Oh,
taking
yeah.
place. Just as a reminder, you can go see us at Hop Yard on April 26th, or you can go see us at Good Robot on May 12th.
Both shows starting at 7 p.m. Both venues have lots and lots of beer and other alcoholic beverages or non-alcoholic
And
beverages.
delicious food, apparently.
So much food. The night that we'll be at Hop Yard is actually their Taco Tuesday.
Ooh,
So, tacos.
Minute tour, look big.
Look big. Oh.
The Minute Women podcast, minute tour, look big.
Yeah. I
All
love
right,
it.
let's go.
Let's go. All right, let's go.
So, on July 12th, 1812, an American army under William Hull invaded Canada at Sandwich, which is now known as Windsor.
Windsor, Ontario.
Windsor, Ontario. But Sandwich at the time. The invasion was quickly halted and Hull withdrew, but this gave Brock the excuse he needed to abandon Prevost's orders. So when we left where we left it,
Yeah.
Brock was upset with George Prevost because George Prevost is like, we need to be on the defensive. We shouldn't be initiating any attacks.
Right.
Even though Brock is saying, like, we can't act so defeatist. We can't just assume we're going to lose
Yeah.
in the event of an American invasion. We should be prepared and, like, look big.
Right.
We gotta look big,
Gotta
everybody.
look big.
We gotta look big for the American bear.
Yeah.
You know? So he's also finally obtained limited support from the legislature for his measures to defend the province, and Brock prorogued the assembly and set out on the 6th of August with a small body of regulars and some volunteers from the York militia to reinforce the garrison at Fort Malden, Amherstburg, at the western end of the Lake Erie.
I know where Amherstburg is. I've been
Oh,
to
really?
Amherstburg.
Why?
It's in Windsor, Ontario.
And you were just there.
I was there. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's very
Worth
like,
defending.
Yeah, it's like very quintessential, like townscapey.
Nice.
It's the first time that I was in one of the Great Lakes swimming, and it's like I get it. Like I get, like I always like growing up in Nova Scotia. I'm like, ooh, lakes, like muddy puddles of water. But then it's like, and you would have a different perspective too, because you've got the Bredor Lakes and Cape Breton and stuff. But
Yeah.
to go to like the Great Lakes, where it's like the freaking ocean of a lake.
Yeah, and it's like the Bredor Lakes are beautiful, but you can see the other side.
Yeah,
They're not Great Lakes.
And I
where
was
it's
like-
oh, this is basically the
yeah.
ocean.
I was like, this is, I get it. I get it. Like there's waves. I get it.
I get it.
Yeah.
And so this would be facing William Hull's position in Detroit.
Yeah.
So that's we're at a Great Lakes standoff at the moment,
Nice.
staring each other down. Traveling mainly by water in bad weather, Brock reached Amherstburg on the 13th of August. So Brock met up again with Shawnee Chief Tecumseh in Amherstburg. He quickly established a rapport with Tecumseh, ensuring his cooperation against Fort Detroit. So Brock is immediately impressed with Tecumseh. Brock also read American dispatches captured from Hull's army. He quickly judged Hull to be timid and afraid of the First Nations in particular. And the American forces, based on these letters that he's basically stolen, they seem to present an American army that's really demoralized and short on rations.
Okay.
So they're hungry and afraid and sad.
I would be very unhappy.
Against the advice of his officers, Brock immediately prepared to launch an attack on Detroit. He's like, basically, it's never going to get better than this.
Right.
We have them where we want them. We should take advantage of that, not just wait for them to attack us.
Okay.
Even with his First Nations allies, Brock was outnumbered. His force included 600 First Nations and 1,300 soldiers, British soldiers, as well as 2 battleships, according to a later report. Hull had about 2,500 soldiers under his command.
Wowza.
But they're scared and hungry.
Yeah, they are.
You can never underestimate that.
Nope.
He decided to use tricks to intimidate Hull.
He's tricky.
We're back on our trick game.
We're on our mind games.
He just carries a handkerchief
back on
with
that
him.
bullshit. Yeah.
So he dressed his militia contingent in uniforms of discarded regulars. So a militia doesn't wear the British red. They would wear a different militia uniform.
Okay.
But he's like, no, we're all going to dress like regulars.
Oh.
To give the illusion of like a trained professional force on site. So from a distance, it made the force seem entirely British regulars and bigger because red.
Red.
I see the red.
Big.
Big red. Look big
red.
everybody.
Yeah, looking big.
Brock laid siege at Fort Detroit from established artillery positions across the river in Sandwich. Through a carefully crafted series of marches, he gave the appearance of having a much more numerous force. He had Tecumseh's forces across in front of the fort several times, doubling back under cover. So he's just lapping it, but it's like, oh my god, there's so many of them. It's like when in old movies they would reuse animation and you see the same people in the crowd over and over again. It's that. But Hull's like, I can't believe it. I'm so scared now.
So wait, how is he doing this?
So basically, like, they're circling it, but they're circling the fort, but the Americans think that it's just one continuous stream in front, not doubling back and running again.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So this was to intimidate Hull with a show of a large, raucous, like seemingly barely controlled First Nations warriors.
Okay.
Finally, he sent Hull a letter demanding his surrender, in which he stated, in part, quote, "It is far from my inclination to join in a war of extermination, but you must be aware of the numerous bodies of Indians," it's a quote, sorry, "who have attached themselves to my troops, who will be beyond my control the moment contest commences." So, like, Brock knows that these guys aren't like this, but he's like, oh, I'll leverage your, like, your racial prejudice to make it sound like these guys are going to kill literally everybody in the fort the minute that it
look
starts.
Scary. Look big and look scary.
Look big, everybody. And then Brock hammered the fort with cannon fire.
Nice.
So on the 16th...
Nice touch. A little additional kiss.
On the 16th of August, the day after receiving Brock's letter, Hull surrendered.
Oh, Hull, you little pansy. Is
Hull.
is pansy a rude term?
I don't know.
Is that not nice?
I feel like it has certain connotations, but it's not like a slur.
Okay, that's good. As long as I'm not slurring.
I hope not.
I hope not. I'm sorry if I am. If I am, someone please let me know.
The thing is, if I bleep it, it'll sound so much worse.
It
It's
will.
like, oh my god, what
So
was she
you can't.
saying?
You can't.
Hull, elderly and without recent military experience, was terrified by the risk of losing the battle.
Oh my goodness.
So
gracious.
Hull is just like peeing his pants inside the fort. He's like, I don't know what to do. Let's just surrender.
Let's leave.
So the capture of Detroit and Hull's army wounded American morale and eliminated the main American force in the area as a threat, while at the same time boosting morale among his own forces, so Brock's forces.
Yeah.
Brock took the American supplies at Detroit and used them for his own forces, particularly the ill-equipped militia. Under prize regulations, a substantial part of the value of the captured military stores would accrue to him. So,
Yeah.
he's also going to make a bunch of money. And if he had lived longer, then this alone would have been enough to settle all of his debts back in England.
But he doesn't live longer?
Well,
Well,
we talked about it at the very beginning of the first episode.
Right,
Something's coming.
okay.
Brock valued the capture ordnance supplies at 30,000 pounds.
Holy guacamole.
Finally, the victory secured the support of Tecumseh and other chiefs in his confederation. So this is like a Mohawk confederation.
Good.
Who took Brock's actions as both a sign of competence and a willingness to take action. So like, all right, this guy can hang.
Yeah.
Is Tecumseh's beliefs.
This guy's chill.
Tecumseh evidently trusted and respected Brock, reportedly saying, quote, "This is a man."
A big old man.
This is a man.
This right here? Man.
After meeting him for the first time.
Oh my goodness.
Although
Don't read a book. Don't judge a book by its cover, Tecumseh.
And so this is just according to what I found. So maybe this is not the most accurate portrayal of Brock's attitudes towards First Nations people, but for the time, it seems like he was pretty decent.
Okay.
Like, he just values competency and war ability more than anything else.
Okay.
So although his correspondences certainly indicate an amount of, like, paternal condensation, like, it was very common for the time to be like, oh, the, like, noble savage, and we'll take care of the First Nations peoples and all this stuff. Like, they don't respect them as equals necessarily. Right. But he does seem to have regarded Tecumseh and his people very highly. He called Tecumseh the Wellington of Indians.
Okay.
I don't know what that means.
Like the Duke of Wellington?
Must be.
That's in Bridgerton. That can't be real.
Brock would have loved Bridgerton.
Oh my god, Brock was all about Bridgerton. There are boxers in Bridgerton, so
there you go. Boxing is a really big sport in England.
Yeah, he should have been there.
Yeah. He also stated, "A more gallant warrior does not, I believe, exist."
Wow.
So,
high praise.
He does speak quite highly of him. Brock made a number of commitments to the Shawnee people. He promised to negotiate no peace treaty without addressing the Shawnees' vision of an independent homeland. There is no evidence that Brock negotiated these things in bad faith. So, like,
okay,
would it have happened if he didn't die? And, like, we'll never know. Right. But it seems like he has no reason to say those things and then behind closed doors be like, ha, I don't mean it.
Right.
So, like, based on everything we have, it seems like he was fairly honest with these people. Brock's personal integrity and respect for First Nations people is quite well documented and suggests that should he have lived, he would have kept his word to the Shawnee.
Okay.
We can't be sure of that, but that seems to be the case.
That seems legit.
Yeah. So the capture of Detroit led to British domination over most of the Michigan territory. Brock had planned to continue his campaign into the U.S., but he was thwarted by negotiations of an armistice by Prevost with American Major General Henry Dearborn. So constantly Prevost is like, okay, we're ending the war right now.
Yeah.
And Brock's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop
Stop
please.
it. Don't be stupid.
This stalled Brock's momentum and gave the Americans time to regroup and prepare to invade Canada.
Ugh.
Unable to predict the point of invasion, Brock frantically worked to prepare defenses throughout Upper Canada. So he's like, great, now I've just got to start from square one,
now I have
basically.
work to do.
Meanwhile, the American general Stephen Van Rensselaer III, a Federalist political appointee in command of a sizable army near Lewiston, was pressured by the American president to invade. Although Van Rensselaer... We're going to call him VR.
That's a name. Vanny.
Although VR had severe doubts about the quality of his troops, he had no choice but to attack. He was an inexperienced militia general and not trusted by the majority of regular army troops. In the early morning of the 13th of October, 1812, he attempted to cross the Niagara River, leading to the Battle of Queenston Heights.
Oh, okay.
So we have arrived.
We have arrived. We made it.
Full circle.
We made it.
Despite heavy fire from the British artillery, the first wave of Americans under Captain John E. Wool managed to land and then follow a fisherman's path up to the heights. So if you know, like, the Battle of the Plains of Abraham, the big part of it is that the plains are up on these massive cliffs and the British have to scale these cliffs to get up there. It's kind of a similar thing with Queenston Heights. Your battle terrain, I guess, is quite far up from the coastline.
Far up, okay.
Yeah. From this point, they attacked and routed the British artillery. Brock had arrived from nearby Fort George and moved to the artillery battery to gain a better view only minutes before Wool attacked. He and his aides and the gunners were forced to beat a hasty retreat, leading their horses down the steep slopes.
Ooh, scary.
Fearing the Americans would move the rest of their troops across the river, Brock ordered an immediate attack on their position. True to his philosophy of never ordering men where he would not lead them, he personally led the charge on foot. Brock's charge was made by Dennis's and Williams' 2 companies of the 49th and 2 companies of militia. The assault was halted by heavy fire as he noticed unwounded men dropping to the rear. Brock shouted angrily that, quote, "This is the first time I ever seen the 49th turn their backs. Surely the heroes of Egmont will not tarnish their record." At this rebuke, the ranks promptly closed up and were joined by 2 more companies of militia, those of Cameron and Heward. Brock saw the militia supports were lagging behind on the foothill, and he ordered his provincial aides-de-camp, Lieutenant Colonel John McDonnell, to, quote, push the York Volunteers, while he led his own party to the right, presumably intending to join his party with that of Williams' detachment, who were beginning to make progress on the flank.
That sounds so intense.
So it's a chaotic battle.
That sounds chaotic and intense.
But Brock is very involved.
Right.
He's like, everybody
he's there.
Everybody get your ass in gear.
Yeah.
This is happening.
We're doing it. We're doing it live, folks.
So it's at this point that Brock was struck in the wrist of his sword arm by a musket ball. So he's shot in the arm with the one that carries the sword. But he continued to press home the attack. His height and energetic gestures, together with his officer's uniform and a gaudy sash given to him 8 weeks earlier by Tecumseh, which is very rude. It's like, quote, gaudy.
Yeah.
It's like,
Gaudy's not
I'm
nice.
sure it was a respectful gift.
I don't...
Jeez.
Yeah.
So he was given this after the siege of Detroit. It made him a conspicuous target. So he's hard to disguise on a battlefield. He
Right.
stands out. And so people are like, oh, there's Brock. That's the guy.
Let's get him.
Yeah. An unknown American stepped forward from a thicket and fired at a range of barely 50 yards. The musket ball struck Brock in the chest and he fell. His last words were reported to have been, "Push on, brave York Volunteers," in reference to a group of militia that Brock favored, or "Push on, don't mind me." But there's really no,
Yeah.
like,
Push on. You wanted him
Evidence?
to keep going.
yeah, there's really no evidence of what his final words were.
Okay.
But today, Brock University, their motto is Latin for "push on,"
Oh, that's cool.
which is kind of cool.
Not look big.
And there's also there's a lot of like potentials for his last words. Other sources suggest that his final words were like a request that his fall would not be noticed. So he's like, "Don't look at me."
Don't look
Basically.
at me. Don't look at me.
And basically, like, he just like was like, everybody has to keep going. Also, like, give this to my sister. He like gives them a token, but they don't know what it is. It's like
Okay.
he gave some sort of token of remembrance for his sister.
Okay.
For someone to give to her. Anyways, everyone's very obsessed with Brock's last words.
Okay.
These accounts are considered to be very unlikely.
Okay.
Especially the one about the York Volunteers, because he was not in the company of York Volunteers, but it was like regular soldiers at the time
Okay.
that he was surrounded by. So like, why is he talking to the York Volunteers if they're not there?
Yeah.
It's also reported that Brock almost died immediately. So it's like it seems like the
He
bullet
didn't
entered
have
his heart.
time.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
he's not waxing poetic. His body was carried from the field, and it was kind of like hidden away in a nearby house on the corner of Queenston and Partition Streets, diagonally opposite to that of Laura Secord Street.
Wow.
Apparently. Everything's coming together.
It's all connected.
It's all connected. Following the death of Brock, Lieutenant Colonel John McDonnell became the senior officer. A lawyer by trade and having very little military experience, MacDonald led a second attempt to retake the Redan, with William's men of the 49th starting from the brush to the right of the line near the escarpment and MacDonald's anchoring the left. The force of between 70 and 80 men, more than half of whom were militia, advanced toward the Redan. So we've got 80 guys.
That's all. That's not a lot.
Wool had been reinforced by more troops who had just made their way up the path to the top of the heights, and MacDonald faced some 400 troops. During the charge, it is reported that the 49th used "Revenge the General" as the battle cry.
Nice.
Despite the disadvantage in numbers, as well as attacking from a fixed position, Williams and MacDonald's small force was driving the opposing force to the edge of the gorge on which the Redan was situated, and seemed to be on the verge of success before the Americans were able to regroup and stand firm. The momentum of the battle turned when a musket ball hit MacDonnell's mount, causing it to rear and twist around, and another shot him in the small of his back, causing him to fall off the horse. He was removed from the battlefield and died from his injuries in the next few days. Captain Williams was laid low by a wound to the head, and Dennis by a severe wound to the thigh, although he continued to lead his detachment throughout the action. Carrying MacDonnell's and the body of Brock, the British fell back through Queenston to Durham's Farm, a mile north of Vrooman's Point. Hi, Minute Women listeners. It is Grace in the future. As I listened back to this episode, I realized that I had completely forgot about what the actual Heritage Minute is about. And so I wanted to just come back and quickly interject to say that the Heritage Minute follows Mohawk Chief John Norton. And what the Heritage Minute displays is he and his 80 Grand River warriors managing to hold off American forces until reinforcements could arrive. And this took hours. So it's really amazing that this really small force was able to achieve this. And it was tremendously important to the success at the Battle of Queenston Heights. But I won't say too much more because I think we definitely have a hero for a future Minute Women episode. Okay, back to Brock. In the afternoon, Sheaffe arrived on the battlefield with reinforcements and took command of the British forces. In sharp contrast to his predecessors' direct attacks, Sheaffe took a more cautious approach. This ultimately proved successful, leading to total victory over the Americans.
Okay, yay!
So the British do win Queenston Heights.
We did it.
It's a very sloppy, messy battle.
They did it.
They did it. Yeah. After the battle, Sheaffe and his staff decided to entrust the funeral arrangements of Brock to Captain John Glegg, who had served with Brock for many years. On the 16th of October, a funeral procession for Brock and Colonel MacDonnell went from Government House to Fort George, with soldiers from the British Army, the Colonial Militia, and First Nation warriors on either side of the route. The caskets were lowered into freshly dug graves at the northeast corner of Fort George. The British fired a 21-gun salute in 3 salvos in a gesture of respect. Later that day, the American garrison at Fort Niagara respectfully fired a similar salute. Over 5,000 people attended the funeral, a remarkable number given the limited population of Upper Canada at the time.
Yeah.
A small cairn at the foot of the Niagara escarpment marks the spot where Brock fell, which I believe is still there. You can still visit it. In 1824, Brock's and MacDonnell's remains were moved to Brock's monument, which overlooked the Queenston Heights. Is that a weird thing?
I think a little.
It's like weird to be memorialized where you died.
Yeah, I think that's a little weird.
Like if they buried John Lennon in Central Park, that'd be kind of weird,
Yeah,
right?
I think it'd be very weird. It's like trauma. It's like traumatic.
Yeah, like I get why you have like, this is where this happened.
Especially it's not like your house. Like it's not a place where you died
Yeah.
peacefully. It's like a place where you were murdered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if that's what I would want,
No,
personally.
I don't think so.
The original monument was actually bombed and heavily damaged in 1840. So there's like a monument there now, but that's not the original one.
Okay.
This action was reputedly done by Irish-Canadian terrorist Benjamin Lett, although a subsequent assize failed to confirm this. So
They don't know.
they're blaming the Fenians, but no one's sure.
But no one's sure.
It was replaced by a larger structure, which is there now, and it's huge. You've probably like
Big.
seen it in photos. It's
You
like
can see it from
185 feet.
Space. It's big.
Well, now you can with satellites, I
Yeah.
guess. But yeah, no, it's huge. It's like 185 feet tall. It's this
That's
huge
pretty
pillar. Yeah. Brock's remains were reinterred inside this new monument on the 13th of October, 1853, with an inscription that reads, Upper Canada has dedicated this monument to the memory of the late Major General Isaac Brock, KB, Provisional Lieutenant Governor, and Commander of the forces in the province, whose remains are deposited in the vault beneath. Opposing the invading enemy, he fell in action near these heights on the 13th of October, 1812, in the 43rd year of his age. Revered and lamented by the people whom he governed and deplored by the sovereign whose services his life had been devoted to. So Canadians regarded for a long time Brock as like one of the greatest military heroes. He was voted 28th on the Greatest Canadians television show.
Wow.
Pretty high.
Pretty high.
Although he's not born in Canada and he's never naturalized as a Canadian citizen.
Okay.
Although many Canadians have come to view Brock as one of their own, Brock never really felt at home in Canada. On the whole, he viewed the country as kind of a backwater and earnestly wished to return to Europe to fight against Napoleon.
Oh, well.
Brock mistrusted the Canadian colonists, many of whom he suspected of being American sympathizers, and he was reluctant to arm them indiscriminately to help the colony.
Okay.
He favored the expansion of volunteer forces, which could be trained and supervised, as well as the use of British regulars in Tecumseh's warriors. Since his death, several legends and myths about Brock have arisen.
Okay.
In 1908, the story of Brock's betrothal to Sophia Shaw, who was the daughter of General Shaw, was first published.
Okay.
There's no supporting evidence for the claim, and most biographers consider it a falsehood.
All right.
A legend about Brock's horse, Alfred, was published in 1859. The horse was supposedly shot and killed during the battle while being ridden by Macdonnell, and it is commemorated in the monument erected in 1976 in Queenston near the cairn marking the spot where Brock fell. And we do know that his horse was shot, but there's very little evidence that this was Brock's horse.
Okay.
Especially because the general's horse is listed as an attendee of the funeral. So he preceded
horse.
the coffin at the interment. Like, he's like part of the parade.
Yeah.
They're like, this is Brock's horse.
Yeah.
So probably not dead.
Probably not dead.
Alfred probably didn't die.
Yeah. Alfred's probably dead now.
Yes.
But not then.
I would imagine.
Not then.
But yeah, that's the end of the
that's
story
the
of Isaac Brock. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's how it all ended.
And that's the big reason that we know about Queenston Heights.
Okay.
And so while I don't think that the Heritage Minute is necessarily false.
Right. Hey, the whole point of this show is that we go behind the minute.
Yeah,
and you
exactly.
went behind it and you scooped it out and here we are. Think big, Grace.
Isaac Brock.
Think big.
Look big.
Oh, look big.
Look big.
Look big, think big.
Yeah. In the wise words of Isaac Brock. Look big, everybody.
Look big.
What was the other half of that quote? Look big. Oh, speak loud and look big.
Oh, speak loud and look big. Speak loud.
Push on.
Look big.
And if anyone challenges you to a duel, make the distance just point blank and see what they do.
Well, thank you so much for finally giving me my answers and the ending to the story of Brock. And now I'll think about that whenever I hear, Brock University or Brockville. I'll be like, oh, it's that guy from Queenston Heights.
Ya boy.
Ya boy Brock. Look big. Look big, Brock. Which is perfect because we are going on the minute tour of the Minute Women Look Big. And it's perfect. It's a whole bit. It's a whole thing now. All thanks to this 2-parter episode. So if you're looking for more information or to see our episode catalog or the research or learn about Grace and I, you can go to our website, www.minutewomenpodcast.ca.
And make sure you rate and review the podcast. Subscribe to the show. We're very predictable. We come out every Wednesday, so you can look forward to that. And share the podcast with all your friends. Also, if you're in the Halifax area, we are going on tour. So check out our website or check out our Instagram for all of the details. And hopefully we'll see you there.
Bye.
Bye.